rip the audio. But anyway, so we're going to the, so the author, he said, fasting of Ramadan is fard, right? It begins at the completion of Sha'ban, which is either how many days? 29 or 30 days. And he said it's by two upright men, adalain, or the large group, right? Now, what he said in the Arabic, I looked at the Arabic, it says jama'ah, right? Mustafida, right? The larger group. Now, usually how this is explained in 90% of the communities in the United States, the larger community is the whole world, because it's impossible for everybody to get together and say that they didn't see the moon. Well, this is the problem. We may see the moon in Philadelphia. They may not see the moon in Georgia. And your calendar is your calendar. Now all of a sudden you're going to skip days or push up days because Ramadan is in? That's a form of treachery. Right? It's dishonesty. So therefore, that's the problem. So when you're talking about this is why I went on that whole spiel about Jama'ah and community. When you're talking about the large group, when do you rely on a large group? Let's say you're a person that looks for the hilal, right? And your family, you may have overslept that day, right? But all of the people, and you overslept and you fell asleep so long that it's almost Fajr time. And you notice everybody in the community is coming out, they, getting ready to go to the masjid, and then you hear the adhan for subh, because usually in the Muslim societies, they usually call an adhan early, right? Call the adhan early for people to give people like that indication to eat suhoor, right? You wake up and you start like, yo, what's going on? They say, oh, it's Ramadan. Okay, fine. There's no problem with that. But if you're here, right, and the people here are looking for a hilal, and you saying, no, but everybody across the world is fasting tomorrow, that's not the same. That's not what that's talking about, right? That causes a lot of complication because there's a hierarchy to everything, right? So anyway, so he says in the similar manner also at its ends. So one makes the intention to fast at the beginning of the month, at the beginning, right? And therefore, it is not necessary for him to renew his intentions to fast for the rest of the month in Ramadan, right? Now, understand there's other madhabs that they have to renew their intentions every day, all right? So it's clear for us. You make your intention in the beginning. Then there's an exception to the rule. He says that the fast only lasts until sunset, until Maghrib. And it is sunnah to hasten to break your fast for iftar. You're not proving your endurance by you not eating when Maghrib comes in. Right? Hasten to break the fast. Now, I'm not telling you, if you at the masjid, I'm not telling you to eat a gourmet meal before you pray. Breaking your fast is simply just get a sip of water, or drink your bottle and a couple dates. Right? Then you go home and you eat your meal. Right? So he said, and to delay suhoor is a sunnah, meaning you eat up until the closest time for the arrival of subh. Right? So this is what is meant by delaying suhoor, not you eating and then when the sun is coming up then you stop eating. No. So if you stop at the crack of dawn. He said that the month of Ramadan is confirmed before Fajr, and it becomes wajib to fast. If it is not confirmed until after Fajr, then imsak, like you stop eating and begin to fast instantly, but without any doubt, right? Without any doubt. And that day's fast must. Oh wait, hold on. I think I'm looking at it wrong now. Now, so if I'm not mistaken, it's talking about just a person that's just waking up. They're just waking up and not knowing whether it's Ramadan or not, right? And they're fasting, but you have to make that day up. That's what he's mentioning here. So the next thing he says, the niyyah made before the confirmation of the month of Ramadan is invalid. So you can't be one of those people like, I'm just going to fast tomorrow and I'm going to fast today just in case Ramadan is today, right? It's actually a bid'ah, and the Prophet ﷺ spoke against this. He said, therefore, if one makes an intention before sighting the moon, and the morning comes without him having eaten or drinking anything, but later realizes that the day is in fact one of the days of Ramadan, he does not count it as one of the days of Ramadan. However, he would still refrain from food and drink on that day because of the sacredness of this month, but he should later replace that day later, meaning he makes that day up, right? So you don't eat or drink. If you didn't know it was Ramadan, you still go through with the fasting, right? He said one does not fast a day of doubt, fearing that it might be a day of Ramadan. However, it is permissible to fast that day if it coincides with the voluntary fast, meaning that you might not have got a sighting on that night, got a sighting, so therefore they fast that next day, because they want to do a nafil fast, right? It might be Monday or something like that. You get, you understand?
That means if the person who's used to fast, they fast Monday and Thursday, they fast the month of Shawwal,
right?
They have people beside him. Then that individual is permissible for that.
He continues his fast. That's just like fasting on Friday. That's another discussion, though. The Maliki says that it's permissible. It's no problem with fasting on Friday. Imam Malik was one who upheld that position. Him and some of the Tabi and the Sahaba as well. At the beginning of the day of doubt, for the people to have a thorough confirmation of the sight of the moon, and if the sun rises and the day progresses and nothing is confirmed, that the people should eat, right? That's if there's no confirmation that it's Ramadan. Involuntary vomit. If a person vomited, but it wasn't purposely done, basically involuntary, does not break the fast, except if you swallow the back parts or some like the chunks of food, right? If you swallow that part, what is coming out, then in that case the fast, you have to make it up. The fast is not broken by a wet dream nor cupping, but the cupping of a sick person is makruh, with the fear of worsening the illness, right? Because you do have some people that say they'll say, oh no, it's haram to fast. I mean, to do hijama while you're fasting. But really the case is what the author just mentioned, is that if a person is sick, because hijama is a method of for medicine, and you letting out the blood, taking out the toxins and things of that nature in order to heal sicknesses. So therefore, that's why people usually do hijama. You do it for well care too. But the person doing the hijama, if he's doing it because he has a sickness, then therefore, and if you think letting the blood out may increase the sickness, then the person shouldn't do hijama. He should just remain fasting, right? The conditions of a good fast are to make intention before Fajr, whether it is fard or nafil, right? One suffices for all fasts which are consecutive, like the fast of Ramadan, the fast to expiate divorce, fast to expiate a murder, or taking an oath that an individual had made an obligation upon himself. As for the optional but consecutive fasts are any customary fast. There is no doubt that one has to make a new intention every night. All right. So number 2, purity from menstruation. She can't be on a haid, just for the females, or she can't be doing nufus, postpartum bleeding. All right. If the menstruation or the postpartum bleeding stops before Fajr, even if just a moment before Fajr, then fasting is an obligation upon her that day, even if she has to make ghusl after Fajr. one must make a new intention or refresh his intention. In the case the sequence is disturbed either by sickness, menstruation, postpartum, or anything like that. Meaning, when they say disturbed, meaning that the person is, sick to the point where they can't continue to fast, on they mince or things of that nature. The person has to be sane. Sanity. As for a person who lacks sanity, like a crazy or unconscious person, the fast is not binding upon him while in that state. It is wajib for an insane person that when he becomes or regains his sanity, he redresses the fast he missed while in the state of insanity. Likewise, for an unconscious person, when he recovers, even if it's after many years. So if a person's in a coma, he have to make up those Ramadans. And to avoid, number 5 is to avoid sexual intercourse, eating and drinking, and whoever does any of these acts intentionally without a valid explanation and not out of ignorance, he has to make up and do kafara, expiation. So he explains here what kafara is. Kafara is to feed 60 poor people a mud, right? A mud to every person by a mud of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The measurement. A mud is what? The size is 1 hand. So mud is 4.
No. A mud is a mud is 1 hand. It's
1 hand.
A size 4.
It's 4. Okay. I said it backwards. Nah. So this is the most favorable. Or you could set a believing slave free. Like I said, you can't bail somebody out of jail, even though America considers them a slave. They just subtly say it in the 13th Amendment. You can't just bail somebody out of jail like, I just set a slave free. All right? Absolutely.
You can't use that as they a slave?
Nah, I can't use that as an excuse. Or to fast 2 consecutive months straight. And tell you, if you had a hard time doing 1 day, you don't want to fast no 2 days. And feeding 60 people is not as easy as we think it is. That junk can become kind of tedious. Actually expensive too. Huh? Yeah. If they even want to eat your food. Imagine you go somewhere, you can't find nobody to eat your food. Man, I don't want that. I don't know what you did to it.
You know, back in the day, back in the late 80s, early 90s, this is sister. She couldn't fast. So she used to do the iftar for all of the masjid. She'd do this night, do iftar for this masjid. This night, do iftar for this masjid. The only thing is, every masjid is like 30 or 40 people in each masjid.
Have 60 people.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, you say you had a question?
Yeah. So in the event that you do have to feed people, by giving them the prepared food, is that sufficient enough?
Yeah. You measure it. It's actually better to wait, prepare it, weigh it, and give the food to the people.
But they don't necessarily get to eat it at that time, do they?
Well, I mean, long as they eat it, once they take it,
that's sufficient.
They ain't shit fair no more.
Okay.
You fed them in your book, unless they take your food like that lady. Man, I'll never forgive him for that. This lady in Queens, man, on Jamaica Avenue. I'll never forget this. I took my last hard-earned dollars. I only had about $10 to my name. She outside, hungry, please feed me. And I was like, subhanAllah, I just came from the masjid. I was like, all right. So I stopped at the halal cart, brought her 2 francs and a soda. And she took it, wrapped that joint up, put it inside of the milk cart. Yo, you mute your phone? She put it inside the milk cart and turned to me and said, I need money. I was like, yo, are you serious right now? Yo, I was just so mad. I just walked off. I'd never forget that lady a day in my life, man. But you you just once you give it to them, and they have to say, and then you can assume is they ate it. Now, if you see them throw it away, you like, damn, I don't even count. So, but anyway, moving forward. There is no kafara in the case of something that reaches the throat through other than his mouth, right? like through your nose. All right. He says whether it's through the ear, the nose, or anything like that, even if it's bukhor, smoke. All right. So if you inhale smoke, so be careful lighting incense in Ramadan. You inhale enough smoke, that joint reaches the back of your throat. You broke your fast, but not to the point where you owe to feed 60 people for that one day. It means you have to remake that day up. But you don't start eating. That's one of the biggest common mistakes that we make. Is that usually when you're like, oh, I broke my fast. Like one of the most common ones is that, oh, I got angry, so I done broke my fast. Let me get a bottle of water. I seen a brother do that. I'm like, what you doing? He said, man, I'm upset. The boy just upset me. I'm like, that doesn't mean that. So shit, you broke the spirit of the fast, right? Not the fast in itself. You still have to fast. I was like, you have to make that up because he generally was doing it out of ignorance. So you have to repeat that day. But if he was doing that joint intentionally, boy, oh boy. But anyway, proceeding on. So he said, in this situation, he only has to do qada. He has to make up the fast. The same goes for the thick mucus, which can be spat out. So that's the other thing. You got a lot of mucus. You're a person with like a stuffy nose and all that. Spit the joint out. If you're fasting, right? If you ingest it, instead of spitting it out, you ingest it and it goes and hit that throat, your fast is broke and you owe that day. You have to make that day up. Now, he said the same applies for swallowing water while rinsing or doing siwak and everything which reaches the stomach by means of a by hypodermic needle, right? Which is by needle. Now, let's explain that. If a person is taking insulin, that's not what they're talking about. What they're talking about is a person on a feeding tube. Person has a tube in and he's receiving nutrients and food directly to his stomach from that tube, right? It's not talking about if you had to go to the doctors and take a tuberculosis test and you got poked with the needle and it build up the little wheel right there, right? That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about a person with a feeding tube. Now, likewise, a person who ate doubting whether Fajr had came in, there's nothing major upon him except qada. And it is not necessary to make qada according to the majority, to the mashhur, if one mistakenly swallows a fly, dust from the road, right, flour, or like plaster, any type of for manufacturing, or nor is feeding liquids through the urethra. Yeah, right. But the way it's doing is just worded, you like, yo, you really sitting there, nah. So, but anyway, so it is permissible for a person observing fast to use miswak. All right, so we shouldn't have this question 1,000 times. Can I brush my teeth while fasting? Yes. Right? To rinse the mouth out because of extreme thirst. Or number 3, to enter the morning in a state of janaba. Right? So, you may have relations with your spouse, and when y'all woke up, y'all went and cooked, ate suhoor, and then made ghusl afterwards. There's no problem with that. All right? It's sufficient. But don't abuse the teeth brushing. Some people be brushing their teeth all day, hitting the water out of the, sucking the water out of the toothbrush. Nah, come on, man. You're abusing it. Permission to break fast with expiation of feeding people is permissible. For number 1, the pregnant woman, if she fears for what is in her womb, but she does not openly eat or talk about eating, meaning it's supposed to be discreet, right? So, it's kind of funny because, I've seen these posts over the years of being Muslim and social media, and a lot of women be like, yo, mind your business. Who be asking me about fasting? Well, you the one outside eating. You really can't be mad at me if I'm just like, sis, you ain't fasting today? Mind your business. Then also too, Haya is leaving women, you know, and I know women like to beautify themselves and all that. They be like, well, if I can have me a pamper day if I'm on my menses. Is it every man's business to know that you on your mens? Right? It's not every man's business to know that. You have to have a little more Haya. So, you know, use henna, put some gloves on, you know, things like that. You know, have a little more Haya. Especially, you know, with the eating, you know, just be out eating, walking around, you know, just scoffing food down, you know. The third thing is for an old, weak person, right? A person who can't fast. He said the same feeding applies to a person who neglected his unsettled fast of preceding Ramadan until the succeeding Ramadan entered. So if you didn't you didn't make up your days of Ramadan from last year, right? And this year comes in, you know, for the time being, not only you fast, but you also have to feed people as well, right? He said, the feeding, the kafara in all these cases is a mud for every day for a person that missed. So he's not feeding 60 people, he's just feeding one person a day. It's recommended for the fasting person to abstain from unnecessary use of his tongue, right? And to hasten to pay the old and missed fast precautiously and consecutively. It is recommended to fast. Okay, so he's mentioning the other days that are mustahab to fast, okay? It's mustahab to fast the Arafah, which is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, for the people who are not on Hajj. The fast, the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, fast in Muharram, right? What is that, the 10th of Muharram? That's the day of Ashura, or the 9th? 9th and the 10th, right? Yeah, 9th and the 10th of Muharram. Fast in Rajab, because that was in time known that the Prophet ﷺ fast a lot. Fast in Sha'ban, he was known to fast a lot in Sha'ban, and 3 days every month. Now pay attention to this. Imam Malik, he considered it makruh that you fast 3 days, the 3 days to be restricted to the 3 white days. Anybody know what the 3 white days is? It's right, it's the 3 middle days. How you know though? The way of the moon. You know when we have a full moon? Those are three white days. Those are usually, the full moon is usually 3 days. When we see it sometimes, because we're so amazed at how beautiful the moon is, we get lost in it. But you be like, yo, that's a sign it's the middle of the month. That's usually the sign it's the middle of the month. You made it to the middle of the month. So he says, specifically, likewise, he also disliked fasting 6 days of Shawwal because he feared that the ignorant people may mistake it to be part of Ramadan. Meaning a person to fast all 6 days of Shawwal within the month. Because the particle or the preposition of min, which is kind of, Arabic, is we translate it as from, but how it's understood in Arabic is ibtida, beginning from that point. Min also could mean dharfiyah was contained within that month, and so that's why some
from Shawwal.
Yeah,
like at the end of it, you start your 6 days.
No, you can do it in after the Eid. You can do it within the month.
What he disliked is to
do it in the month.
Right after the Eid, the 6 days, right after Eid.
Yeah. Yeah, to knock him out. But rather what he's saying is starting from Shawwal to the next Ramadan, inshallah. Is fasting those 6 days. That's how he understood the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu. And then there's some that understand the word min to mean dharfiyah, meaning within that month that they have to fast those 6 days.
So either in the month or after the month.
Right. Exactly. Huh? No, you can fast and spread out.
Okay.
It's all about your intention.
Okay.
Remember, that's an individual thing. So you make your intention. I'm gonna fast, Shawwal, the 6 days, Ba'd Ramadan, the 6 days after Ramadan. We usually call it fasting the Shawwal, and it's actually what Imam Malik disliked about it, because it is almost practiced like it's part of Ramadan. people like, you ain't fasting those 6 days. You know, it's men meaning ibtidah, starting from that time. Bam. So he also disliked the tasting of salt for a person who was fasting, right? If he does that and spit it out before any of it reaches the throat, then there's nothing owed, right? Because there is some rulings and some mazhabs that saying that you can taste food while you're cooking. You know, Imam Malik is like, nah, you can't taste it. You shouldn't do it. It's makruh. So, things that leads to sexual desire are disliked for fasting. Things like kissing, fondling, lustful gaze, foreplay, even the thought one has, one knows he is safe. Nonetheless, in these situations, only qada is due. So you shouldn't be sitting there. You know, a lot of people always like to quote. I forgot which Sahaba it was, but you know, he broke fast basically with his wife. You know, he's like, the heck with the food. You know, I'm gonna break fast with my wife. You know, but you know, brothers be making it like you just sit around all day like, I can't wait for her. Ramadan. No, you can't sit around like that.
Umar, it was the time and he came in and said his wife looked like the moon. I mean that she was bent over.
So you know, if you and you know, it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. You should be attracted to your wife, man. Where everybody acting like they hate their spouse, you know. But you know, if that's a problem, you look at your wife and she body like, you gotta stay away from her during the daylight hours. Just go outside, man. You know, go hang out in the masjid, do anything, but just don't be home. However, it is haram for anyone to engage in such activities without certainty of safety. Right? That's just like what I was saying. If you're at home, you can't stay away from your zones and you need to go outside or something. And if he discharges semen, then upon him is qada, right? And kafara. Okay, so regardless of what Al-Albani said, and I mentioned Al-Albani's name, not trying to be funny, but he has given a fatwa saying that it was permissible to masturbate while you're fasting. It's haram. You know, you can't do it. It breaks your fast. And, you know, so, you know, that's what he promotes. I'm not throwing no shade, and I'm not, you know, like on no Salafi bashing and like that. This is just honest academic honesty, you know. He said, well, you know, people will defend it because that's their sheikh. Sheikh ain't right, you know, he ain't wrong, man. You just hating the Salaf, you know, that kind of stuff. So he said, so the sheikh, he says, if he discharges semen, okay, qada. All right, uprightness in Ramadan, istiqamah, is highly desired, right? So this also is something else that's important, is istiqamah, you know, developing upright character, because Ramadan is the repair, you know, to fix and change, you know. And like I mentioned earlier in the khutbah, you know, most of we're afraid of change. We only want to change if everybody else is changing. We have to be able to stand firm and just be like, man, I don't care what y'all doing. This is what I'm on. You don't even have to like be boastful about it, forceful, or anything like that. Most of the time, people try to force you to accept their position, to be honest with you. You know, that's how you end up getting in arguments. If you go to a place and you praying subtle, they be like trying to fix your hand and pray. Like, bro, pray to your own prayer. Like, get your hands off me, man. What's wrong with you? You know, usually people do that. You know, the old typical Negro way of refutation after the salat. Assalamu alaikum. Some nasiha. Call Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Madina nasiha. Right? Then they start talking, and then they start going into and start talking about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was commanded to pray the right hand over the left. And you get the whole spiel and you're like, man, I already know. You know, like I would go in the masjid sometimes, masajid sometimes, and you know how people put a sutra in front of you all the time? Well, usually I try to find a wall because I get tired of getting harassed, because sometimes the masjid is empty. There's nobody in there. And I go in there to pray, and there be one brother that come in there, dude, you see me praying, don't walk near me. After I finish, I don't know how, because he prayed after me, but he catches me at the door. Akhi, you know, we're supposed to put a sutra in front of us. I was like, come on, man. All right, shukran, barakallahu feekum. Yeah, right. So, you know, but now, so Istiqamah, uprightness. And while you're practicing this and you do this for 30 days, then keep that same energy outside of Ramadan as well. You just learned your limits. So he said the Prophet ﷺ, Allah's prayers and peace upon him, whoever observes Ramadan faithfully and excellently will have his past sins forgiven. And this is the thing that you're seeking out of Ramadan. That's why you praying throughout the night. You changing your adab and character and so on and so forth. And he says itikaf is mustahab in Ramadan, and if it is not causing disruption to the masajid, and Allah knows best. That's the end of that. So next week we'll be going back into the salat.